Billionaire Donald Trump defeats Hillary Clinton to become the next president of the United States. Wits student activist Mcebo Dlamini is granted bail and says the fight for free higher education is far from over. A very good evening to you. You're watching eNews Direct. I'm Tutuzile Ramela.
And I'm Sandy Nagangose. Good evening.
To comment on any of our stories, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct.
And tonight our hashtags are Trump win and Mcebo Dlamini.
Billionaire Donald Trump is to become the next president of the United States. He's headed for the White House after beating his rival Hillary Clinton. Trump's election promise of jobs and better state security seems to have appealed to voters. President Jacob Zuma has congratulated Trump and called on him to ensure that Africa and the U.S. continue their trade relations.
Republican candidate Donald Trump stunned the world by defeating favorite Hillary Clinton in the race for the White House. The win brings to an end 8 years of Democratic rule under the Obama administration. The 70-year-old real estate developer and former reality TV host rode a wave of anger towards Washington insiders to defeat Clinton. Earlier, Clinton called Trump to concede.
I've just received a call from Secretary Clinton. She congratulated us, it's about us, on our victory. And I congratulated her and her family on a very, very hard-fought campaign. I mean, she fought very hard.
Trump's series of surprise wins in battleground states such as Florida and Ohio defied the polls. He's called for unity amongst Americans.
Now it's time for America to bind the wounds of division. Have to get together. To all Republicans and Democrats and independents across this nation, I say it is time for us to come together as one united people. Time. I pledge to every citizen of our land that I will be president for all Americans, and this is so important to me.
Trump won support from American voters with his campaign to create more jobs. Among other things, he plans to do so by keeping US manufacturing at home, as opposed to outsourcing it to cheaper foreign countries.
Well, Trump's victory has left many U.S. media outlets and polling agencies with egg on their faces. With the exception of an LA Times University of South Carolina poll, most predictions had Trump losing to Democrat Hillary Clinton. It's been suggested they may have missed the views of voters disillusioned with America's political elite.
They all got it wrong. It's Donald Trump, not Hillary Clinton, who's heading for the Oval Office, as the pollsters, punters and pundits had predicted. And it's a trend. Earlier this year, polls incorrectly predicted Britons would vote to stay in the European Union. They were off the mark too in the UK's general election last year.
I think they miss out some of the minority groups. For instance, think about the states. If we do online, or if you do online interviews there, you're probably missing out the lower middle class voters, or a large proportion of them. And in this election, we saw the lower middle class voters voted Trump.
Then there was the failure to recognize the deep-seated anti-establishment sentiment.
I want the government to work for the people and not for a group of corporate elitists who are puppets for corporations.
We are tired of the corruption at all levels, the corruption from the Democrats and the corruption from the Republicans. We want that swamp clean.
His message was simple, it was straightforward. It spoke to the people who lost their jobs, who didn't have a lot of things to look forward to. Who live in that rust belt where there's really very little going on at the moment.
And so, just like the Brexit vote, the anti-establishment protest vote in the US has carried the day. Thulasizwe Semelane, Johannesburg.
Back home, Mcebo Dlamini has compared his time in prison to initiation school. The fees must fall leader says the fight for free higher education is far from over. Dlamini was released on 2,000 Rand bail after successfully appealing a lower court's decision to keep him behind bars. He faces charges of public violence, theft, malicious damage to property and assault with intent to cause grievous bodily harm.
Mcebo Dlamini waits to hear whether his bail appeal has been successful. His fellow fees must fall protesters are in court to support him.
Section 65(4) decrees that the court or judge hearing the appeal shall not set aside the decision against which the appeal is brought unless such court or judge is satisfied the decision was wrong.
And then cheers as Dlamini finally leaves the court building.
Prison to me was like an initiation. I appreciate the opportunity that they gave me when they took us to prison, they thought they were breaking us. They were anointing us.
Dlamini reiterates the students' demand for free quality higher education.
The call for free education has never been important like it is now. If there was free education, there will be no young people in Sun City.
His bail conditions prohibit him from disrupting campus activities. He also can't contact witnesses in the case. Malungi Lupui, Palm Bridge.
Joburg Mayor Herman Mashaba says the days of corrupt officials in the city are numbered. Mashaba has appointed Shadrack Sibiya as head of the anti-corruption unit. Sibiya is a former head of the Hawks in Gauteng. The mayor says corruption is an endemic in the country's economic hub.
Joburg is in a quest to ensure corrupt officials don't get their hands on taxpayers' money. Billions stolen, the newly appointed anti-corruption boss, Shadrack Sibiya, has his work cut out for him.
I will change the direction of the city of Johannesburg by moving away from paying lip service to this idea. Today, we've taken action because Wits will not defeat corruption. Only brave actions, I believe, will be the order of the day.
Mashaba says the unit will be independent. There'll be no political interference in investigations. Sibiya is no stranger to fighting corruption. He rose in the ranks to lead the commercial unit of the Hawks before becoming its Gauteng head. He was expelled over his alleged role in the rendition of Zimbabwean nationals.
I'm not a politician. I'm an experienced and professional investigator. I'm grateful for the mayor's approach to this unit, operating without fear, favor, or prejudice.
Mashaba challenged Sibiya to be fearless.
I give you an open invitation to investigate me or any member of this government at any time you may deem necessary.
Mashaba has repeatedly stated that corruption is public enemy number one, and he's determined not to let anyone steal from the poor. The city says it intends exposing those who have enriched themselves from the public purse. Khalihle Khumalo, Johannesburg.
Freedom Under Law and the Helen Suzman Foundation are heading to court in a bid to force President Jacob Zuma to suspend National Director of Public Prosecution's head, Shaun Abrahams. The civil society groups say Abrahams, as well as colleagues Dr. Tori Pretorius and Sibongile Mzinyati, are unfit for office. Abrahams is under attack from several quarters following his decision to withdraw charges against Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan.
I don't need any politician or any person's permission to institute a prosecution against anyone.
But former ANC Treasurer General Matthews Poza isn't buying it.
A day before he charges Pravin, he appears at Luthuli House To do what? I don't buy the stories of the feast must fall. I don't think anyone in South Africa should buy that hogwash. He is not a fit and proper person to hold that office. And we have written a letter to the president asking him to investigate him. And we're serious about it. And I also wrote a letter to the Bar Council to do the same.
Poza, like the EFF, wants the General Bar Council to strike him from the role of advocates.
Once it's been determined by the bar that the person is unfit and improper, then it will be up to the bar to bring an application to the High Court, either for the suspension of the person depending on the gravity of the infraction, or for the person to be struck off the roll.
Meanwhile, Freedom Under Law and the Helen Suzman Foundation are going to court asking for an order that President Jacob Zuma act rationally and suspend Shaun Abrahams pending an inquiry. This can be done for reasons of serious misconduct or if the NDPP is no longer regarded as a fit and proper person. But ultimately the matter will have to be referred to Parliament for a decision to be made. The Democratic Alliance also wants President Jacob Zuma to suspend Abrahams pending an inquiry. The party also wants to introduce legislation that will see the Director of Public Prosecutions being appointed by Parliament and not the President, much like the Public Protector. Annika Larson, Cape Town.
Thank you, Sandile. The decision to withdraw from the International Criminal Court is not an attack on its values, but rather a critique of how it functions. Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa told members of Parliament today, he says, despite the decision, South Africa continues to have a cordial bilateral relationship with its international partners. He also reiterated that the country is committed to the protection of human rights and the fight against impunity. We end with this. 15 by-elections were held today across 6 provinces. All 3 of KwaZulu-Natal's are the result of assassinations. 3 ANC councillor candidates were murdered in the days leading up to the August local government elections. The killings are now the subject of a provincial commission of inquiry. ANC leaders say political killings must come to an end. If you've missed any of the stories we're tracking for you, find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct, or you can head on over to our website. That's eNCA.com/direct. Your business news and your weather after this. Markets have largely recovered after reacting negatively to Donald Trump's election as the 45th U.S. president. His victory raises fears of global instability. Sectors such as finance and oil were hit hard as the Mexican peso fell to record lows. However, gold prices were up nearly 5% as investors moved to safety. It's gold's biggest single-day gain since the 24th of June, when it rose by 8% on the news of Britain's decision to leave the European Union. Trump has vowed to revive the U.S. economy by slashing taxes and imposing import tariffs on countries like China. South Africa's business confidence bounced back from its lowest reading in 3 decades last month. The South African Chamber of Commerce Business Index edged up to 93 points in October as compared to 90.3 in September. An increase in export volumes and a firmer currency helped boost the recovery. The Chamber has, however, warned that business sentiment would be negatively impacted should the country be downgraded. Credit ratings agencies are due to review and published by year end. All 3 have warned that slow growth and political volatility could trigger a downgrade. And with that, let's see how the markets close today. Let's check in with the Weather Center. Here's Louis.
Hello everyone. A quick glance at our satellite loop for today shows that, as expected, thunder showers developed over parts of the interior, and it was an especially stormy afternoon for some areas over the eastern Free State and into Mpumalanga. The good news is that over the next couple of days, the wet weather remains in place, and this is the rainfall accumulation for the next 2-day period. And we're expecting more than 30 millimeters of rain to be possible all across the eastern interior of the country. And the areas indicated in orange and pink are where more than 50 millimeters will be possible. So we are expecting some very good falls to take place before the start of the weekend. Tomorrow is going to be wet in KZN, so keep your umbrellas handy. Lots of cloud cover as well. A cold day over the southern parts. Kokstad reaches a high of only 16 degrees. And we'll also see low temperatures in the Eastern Cape with wet weather, especially near the coastline where widespread rain is expected. On the south coast of the Western Cape, light rain will settle in the afternoon and evening while it remains windy but dry along the western coastline. And there's a possibility for isolated thunder showers for Sutherland in the Northern Cape, and we'll see a few storms in the extreme eastern parts of the province as well. Scattered showers and storms continue in the Free State once again. Bloemfontein 32 degrees as a high, while Harrismith will be mostly cloudy and cooler. And heading into the northwest, where it's going to be a somewhat warmer day, Mahikeng reaches a maximum of 34, but those thunder showers will be redeveloping all across the area. Scattered storms for Modemole and Bela Bela, but isolated elsewhere over Limpopo. And in Mpumalanga, we're expecting a high probability for thunder showers in the afternoon and evening. Those could bring some good falls of rain, especially to the southern parts. Standerton, you still get to a high of 28. A warmer day lies ahead for Gauteng, Johannesburg at 29, Pretoria, you'll peak at 32, along with scattered storms all across the province. On Friday, we're expecting the wet weather to continue over the eastern parts. Lots of cloud over Mpumalanga, Gauteng and the Eastern Cape. And for the start of the weekend, it's going to be a cooler day over the southern parts of the country. Cape Town with a high of only 20, while thunder showers continue in the east.
Thank you, Louis. After the break, a German artist draws inspiration from Cape Town and other breathtaking landscapes across the world. Welcome back. A German artist is taking her work to greater heights, quite literally.
All around the world. She's on a mission to reach the world's highest roofs to capture just the right scenic landscapes.
It's part of a global art project, and Cape Town is her latest stop.
From her hometown of Hamburg, Germany, to Bangkok, Tokyo, Sydney, German artist Janine Platz is translating the most spectacular skylines in the world onto canvas. Now this incredibly talented artist is in Cape Town to capture her 41st painting in a series of 50 sweet views.
I travel around the world and in all the continents, 50 cities in the end. I paint big city skyscrapers, desert, sky and sea. I come to the city and come to the suite and I look through the window and see and I paint what I see.
But what makes Platz's artwork unique is that she uses only her fingers, a scraper and a toothbrush to create these masterpieces.
With my hand I feel the color in my hand and my soul and my heart.
So Janine, what's the big plan for all these paintings?
Yes, in next year, on the 3rd of May, I make a big exhibition with all the paintings. All the 50 paintings are shown there in the whole world, I hope.
And if you thought finger painting was just for kids, think again. Platz certainly illustrates that the technique needs tons of skill. Tanya Neft, Cape Town.
A reminder of your top stories before we say goodbye. Billionaire Donald Trump defeats Hillary Clinton to become the next president of the United States. Wits student activist Mcebo Dlamini is granted bail and says the fight for free higher education is far from over. And that's a wrap from the eNews Direct team.
It is indeed. Rhythm City's up next.
We do love to hear from you. You can send us an email to enewsdirect@etv.co.za.
Or just talk to us on Twitter and Facebook. Our handle is @eNewsDirect.
Until tomorrow night, have a fantastic evening. Bye-bye.